Good morning, good morning. What's going on, guys? Crazy stuff going on today. We have NVIDIA earnings from yesterday, so we have some craziness from that, and then all the data from this morning. So lots of volatility. Might be a wild day. Jobless claims, earnings, U.S. average earnings, non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, all that stuff was released about an hour ago. Fun times, fun times. Teacher Miss, why are you whining at me? I get enough of that from my kids. All right, let me mark off overnight levels real quick. Kind of looking for, it's hard to want to short this, so leaning towards longs, just want to get a pullback to a long. Not interested in taking a long right up here. So this is our Asia high, London low, our open, session opens down here. So really last night when I put my game plan together, I was thinking as long as we hold above this golden zone down here, I was looking for longs. Obviously we're way above that. NVIDIA earnings just blasted us through that level. So I doubt we would pull all the way back there. Nothing's impossible, obviously, but I kind of doubt it. We might get a jump up at the open. Just NVIDIA earnings and all the data releases caused the pump an hour ago. The data an hour ago, NVIDIA last night, obviously. But that could carry momentum into the New York Open. You guys ready for this? Markets open in 1 minute. Actually, just a couple seconds. Less than a minute. So I like to anchor a VWAP at the news candle if there is a big news candle like there was today at 7:30 Central Time. I'm Central Time Zone. So I anchored it at that because that was a high volume event. Just to kind of see who has the momentum. Right now it's kind of dropping below it, but also still hovering around that zone. The open could be a little crazy, so I'm going to stay patient. All right, let's see what we get. Down so far. Let's see if we retrace down to VWAP or even down to like the opening lows. Or, oh my gosh, this would be ridiculous if we just retrace that whole NVIDIA earnings news pump. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that would be wild. Yeah, Jeff, we definitely could hold above VWAP and continue up. The next resistance I see is at 25,330-ish on NQ. I would have to look at what that is equally on ES. I think it's about 6,800 on ES. But if this thing just goes up from here, yeah, it could. I mean, NQ almost came down to VWAP. Not quite. I don't have my VWAP turned on ES. Let's see. ES is still quite a ways above VWAP. It hasn't come down and retraced to there. ES and NQ actually look very different from each other, so I don't love that. ES is going up, NQ is going down. To me, that means there's not quite a clear direction, and maybe something having to do with NVIDIA earnings, because NVIDIA is part of NASDAQ, obviously. So this could be some profit taking from NVIDIA. I don't know. But like I said, they're moving in opposite directions, so that's weird. Kind of looks to me like it wants to go down and retrace some of this, either just the news pump from this morning, the data release, or if it gets super heavy, retrace a whole bunch of the NVIDIA earnings. But if this was going to carry momentum from the news this morning, I would think it would just go up. Still early. It could just be a fake out to grab some liquidity and then go back up. But it kind of looks like it wants to go down to me. So this right here would be retracing the data release candle, this line, if it comes down to here. Oh man, NVIDIA earnings, if you're asking about the NVIDIA earnings candle, it's way back here. That was... It got released right here at about 24,740-ish, something like that. So if it retraces all of that, that's a massive drop. Not saying that's going to happen, but that there's a long way to go down if it does that. So it is sitting below that news candle anchored VWAP I was telling you about, but also still kind of chopping around it. That could have been a liquidity grab to continue the momentum from the news. Still not a super clear direction. ES is barely moving at all, man. All right, let's start drawing our anchored VWAPs for this session. Right now, this is our 15-minute high and 15-minute low. Very choppy open. This is not what I was expecting, honestly. I thought it was going to either shoot to the moon or dump all the way down just because of all the news and everything going on recently. Did not expect it to be choppy and indecisive. Yeah, ES looks like we're trading the Asia session. This is slow moving. This 1 minute chart is super wiki. Let's see what the 5 minute looks like. All right, ES and NQ are kind of starting to move in sync a little bit more. Gold is range bound. I guess everything is. All the excitement happened an hour ago with the data release. It could just be a slow open and then the actual move happens, 30 minutes later, 15 minutes later, whatever. Maybe it's kind of just reacting or absorbing the information that came out. People are figuring out what they want to do. Well, you guys, while we're waiting for a direction, just a reminder, if you haven't already, go hit that like button. We got 99 people in here already. Let's go. Snoop, it looked like it moved up this morning. Yeah, there was a big jump up this morning at 7:30, an hour ago, because of that, all the news that came out, the data. And since then, kind of been choppy. Let's see how this first 15-minute candle closes. Right now, we got big wicks on both sides. ES definitely looks a little more bullish, but we still got 4 minutes until it closes. You hope it breaks through the 25,300 barrier. Yeah, 25,330-ish is kind of where I have the resistance. But yeah, on the hourly chart, that price has been stuck below that for a while. And we're not going to get any higher until we break through that. All right, we are down at VWAP. Let's see if we continue down and this thing actually gets heavy, or if we're going to bounce here. Normally I would be all over a bounce off of VWAP. The reason I'm not is, one, it's a choppy open. ES is not even close to VWAP. And that news release candle is down here at this line that I put. So I could see it maybe coming a little bit lower and like retracing the news candle and have that be maybe a 15-minute opening range fake breakout to the downside before it moves up. Kind of just talking through the scenarios out loud, but basically that wasn't the spot that I wanted to tick along yet. Let's see if it comes down a little further. Gap fill reversal, yeah, that's totally possible too. Another reason I don't want to tick along there. Lots of room to the downside if it's going to retrace the bigger part of the move. Or it could just bounce off of VWAP and go to the moon. And I missed it. Oh man. Opens like this, definitely test your patience. At least for me, because I know I come into the New York Open like ready. Like watching for the levels that I feel like it's going to react at, watching for momentum, like let's go. I'm pumped up. Day like today? Nope. This is ugly. You just gotta sit and wait. There ain't nothing good here right now. Unless, I mean, if you're a scalper range trader, you could probably be making a killing off of this. But that's not me. Not my style. There you go. Way to look at the glass half full, Chichamus. At least ES and NQ are ugly in sync. There you go. They're ugly together. Well, whichever way it decides to break out, it might be a powerful move. All right, we do have our 15-minute opening range set, and ES is kind of peeking its head out of it a little bit. NQ did also. All right, let's see if it makes it up to that 330 level that I was watching. Or was that just a little London high liquidity grab and now we're going to go back down? So this over here is the pre-market high and basically the overnight high. So that could be a liquidity grab and then drop. All right, I'm in a short. I'll move my screen over here in a second. I'm actually going to leave some runners on this thing because I feel like it could definitely go lower. Or it could stop me at a break even. All right, I closed it out. Break even. Still too choppy for me. I don't have a clear read on it. It bounced off of VWAP and maybe it's going back up. So I'm going to be patient and wait for it. Yeah, Olga, the reason I got in short on that one, and I trailed my stop loss a lot quicker than normal and got out at break even because of the choppiness. Normally, I would let the trade play out. But the reason was this over here was the London high. And I always watch for liquidity sweeps on NQ. So it wicked above that and had some aggressive selling pressure down, and it started to close back below the 15-minute opening range low or opening range high. So that was the reason for the short. But then it came down and bounced off of VWAP and aggressively moved back up. So in this type of situation, I find myself being able to make arguments for both longs and shorts. And I know when that's going on in my head that I shouldn't be taking a trade. So that's why I closed it out. It still could go down, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. But I didn't want to risk it. With all the bullish news that just came out, it could also go to the moon. Still super choppy. Yeah, we have existing home sales in 7 minutes. So that's another good reason not to get in the trade. And we do have a Fed speaker right now. I don't know if he's done or not, but he started 25 minutes ago. Lots of stuff going on today. And then we have Fed speakers all afternoon and White House press briefings. Good stuff going on. Pretty much every hour. There's like 5 speakers this afternoon. A good day to size down and manage that risk for sure. Yeah, that was Jeff. That was another reason that I got out. Or sorry, not Jeff, Dallas. It bounced off of that anchored VWAP real quick. Five minutes until that next data release. Ah, I feel your pain. Holding a losing trade too long. That's always frustrating. Got to make sure to have your stop loss in place no matter what. I think it helps having the stop loss idea set before you get into the trade. And then just sticking to your plan. Well, this is a definitely a nice breakout, but I don't like the idea of taking it 4 minutes before a news release. I could see this thing continuing to go up to at least that 330-ish, 350-ish level. If you look left, there's a bunch of resistance there. Rocket, what's the plan for today? Gosh, this market open was tough. So when it opened, I was kind of watching for it to pull back a little bit, and it did come to VWAP. So in hindsight, that would have been the spot for me to enter, that bounce off of VWAP. And I was even like talking through it on the live stream. But I was like, no, it's choppy and we have news and all that. So I didn't get in. I was waiting for it to come a little bit lower and retrace that news pump. I actually had this white line here, which is the bottom of that news release candle. I was kind of waiting for it to come down there, and it never did, so missed that entry. So at this point, just waiting to see what happens at the release in 2 minutes. Didn't get a good, clear read on it at the open. Yeah, Olga, I personally use financialjuice.com. I know a lot of people also use Forex Factory. So there's lots of free websites out there. Yahoo Finance is another one. But you definitely want to be aware of when news is being released. Because if you're in a position during those times, it can be very volatile. And even if you're in a great trade with a great setup and like all of your stop losses set, you're following all your rules, managing your risk, you can still get stopped out and take a loss. So in my opinion, it's not a good idea to trade those things. You might get lucky once or twice and make a bunch of money, but there will be an equal amount of times when you blow your account if you try to trade it. Do we think it's going to come down? Well, that was my hope. But I don't know anymore. Doesn't look like it. Looking at a 360 target. Yeah, Rocket. That was in my game plan that I put in the Discord. That's what I had. I was saying if we held above this level, target was up here around 350-ish. It never pulled back though. WTF. I got a little hopeful or greedy, I don't know, with my pullback target. But then when I just enter long, I'm like, oh, well, that's good enough. Then it pulls back more and I get stopped out. Nope, no trades yet. It was a pretty choppy open. I didn't like it. It's still pretty choppy. And that, we just had news a minute ago. That was a nothing burger. That candle right there was what all this excitement was for. All right. Kind of looks like it might just be a slow grind up kind of day. Yeah, Jeff, that's what I'm thinking. And that's why I didn't take any trades at the open. I expected it to be volatile and like either just blast up at the open and we could ride the momentum long, or like drop down and retrace some of the news and the earnings. I was fully expecting some sort of reaction with one of my levels or like a momentum trade. That's what I was ready for. That did not happen. Didn't happen at all. Olga, it broke the 15-minute range. Can we just buy? Go for it. If you want to enter along, that's on you. The reason I'm not is because I personally only like 15-minute opening range breakout trades if there is some momentum behind it, and this is too slow and choppy for me. When it's choppy like this, my win rate is really bad. So I only do it if it's like a momentum breakout trade. Also, we have resistance. The resistance that I am targeting is right overhead. So, I mean, there's still a good range. Like that could be a 59-point trade. But to me, the risk to reward is not good enough, because if I did enter along here, my stop loss would probably be somewhere down to give it room to retrace to VWAP, and then a 330-ish or even a 350 target. That's like a 1-to-1 risk to reward. The juice ain't worth the squeeze for me. But everyone's strategy is different. So some people might have entered on that 15-minute opening range breakout and taken a long. Go for it. There we go. That's why I didn't want to enter. That's what I felt like was coming. All right, it's coming down to VWAP. Let's see if it continues down or if it retests VWAP and it's going to go up. What's it going to be? ES is retesting that opening range high. If it's going to bounce, this would be a good spot for it. But I also like shorts. All right, 216.25. As far as a target, it could come down to the 15-minute opening range low. Could come lower. Stop loss, I'll put it at the opening range high. VWAP is at 171-ish on NQ. Let's see if it breaks below there. ES has a lot further to go to hit VWAP. It's actually outside of the 15-minute opening range, which is weird. The charts are so different. You guys think it's going to come all the way down to that opening gap? 24,966. I don't know. That seems crazy. Right back into the chop. I don't like this. Sitting right at point of control. Right below VWAP. Bitcoin is dropping again. Yeah. My crypto portfolio is not loving this. I don't look anymore. I don't want to look. I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Yeah, Verisat. This is an account that doesn't have a consistency rule. So I just have the habit of putting in a daily loss limit and a daily profit target. I didn't know if you noticed, if anyone could see that. Good times. Think big. Gotta go big. All right, I'm at least gonna move to break even. So I'm taking out a little bit at the 15-minute opening range low, but I do think this thing could drop further. If it ever stops chopping around and gets outside of this range. So Verisat, when I have an account with a consistency rule, it's really easy because I just do the math based on what I want my total profit to be and then multiply it by the consistency rule. But yeah, I do struggle with that with an account that doesn't have that rule. And I probably honestly should set a daily profit target to force myself to stop trading. Because there's definitely times, like more often than I'd like to admit, where I'm up big green for the day and then I finish the day just kind of green because I kept trading and gave back profits. So I need to get better at like walking away for sure. All right, well, it didn't even come back down to the opening range low. Starting to bounce. That is VWAP. ES is not at VWAP though. That's what's tripping me up and making me think that it's NQ is going to go lower, but it keeps bouncing there. All right. Well, I guess we're headed back up. Let's see if it does head up to that 360-ish, 350 area before rejecting. That's possible. Back inside the range, the choppiness continues. I appreciate that, the HT Master. I don't know about that though. This is definitely not clean price action. Like it's not cleanly touching any of those levels that I have. We have that big drop there though, which makes me think that the pressure is down. It just keeps floating back up. The down moves are definitely stronger and more aggressive. We just need to wait for sellers to get tired, or buyers to get tired, I guess. Oh man. Old trader, you are not missing a thing today. The market is ugly today. Hoping to grab a short at 25,330. I don't know if it's going to make it back up there. Not sure it has enough steam for that. We would have to make it past this big rejection candle. I still think it's going down. We just have to wait for the buyers to stop making it float back up. Whoa, look at that big old gap on the QQQ. That's funny. I didn't even see that. All right, we have our initial balance is set in about 6 minutes. This is the high for now. So one scenario that could happen, like I was saying, we have this resistance up here somewhere between like 330-ish, 350-ish. If you look to the left on the 1 hour chart, there's quite a bit of wicks and resistance up here, 350-ish. So a failed auction setup could be grabbing that liquidity and rejecting. Since the initial balance high right now is at 25,301. One of my favorite setups is a failed auction. So basically that looks like breaking outside of the range, grabbing that liquidity, and then quickly rejecting. Look at that squiggly line. That's beautiful. So let's see if something like that happens. I don't know though. This is kind of just a slow float up. I don't know if it has enough momentum to get all the way up there. We shall see. Similar setup to what I explained on NQ could be on ES too. Because if I remember right, 6,800-ish is that same resistance on the 1 hour. 6802, 6805, like there's quite a bit of wicks up there. So it could come grab that liquidity at 6805 and then reject. So that's the next thing I'll be watching for, is a possible failed auction. Gosh, this really is a weird day. I guess all the volatility was taken this morning with the data release. And then nothing after that. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, Rocket, is it's chopping around and consolidating for something big that's about to come. Hopefully the something big that's about to come is what I was talking about. Just a quick jump up to 350 and then reject. And nice setup for a short. Oh man, this better not be one of those slow grind up to eternity kind of days. And all I'm doing is looking for a short opportunity. Jeez. All right, the slow grind up continues. Let's see what happens when we get up to that initial balance high. Yeah, known the 350 level. Just if you zoom out to I'll go to the 1 hour. It's a high volume node. Like I use visible range volume profile to find support and resistance, but even just with your eyeballs, you can see all these wicks up here at that white line, 356. So it could be a decent liquidity grab opportunity. 360. I keep saying 350. It's somewhere in this vicinity, 350, 360. It's been resistance for a while. I could even go back further. There's more back here. So that's the level I'm watching. Like if it breaks above that and does like a break and retest kind of thing, then we're definitely going higher. And the next level I see is like 25, 520-ish. But it hasn't broken yet. So could reject today. Yeah, sure. No problem. Happy to answer any questions. How many accounts am I copy trading? Depends on the prop firm. I don't use a third-party copier that copies like all of them together. So some prop firms I have 3, and in another one I have 5. So I have 10 accounts total. I don't trade all of them every day though. I have kind of my order of like the priority ones that I want to take the best trade in, and then if I have a day where I'm reading the market really well and I see more trade setups, then I'll trade the next level of accounts. And no, I don't think it's reflected in the profit. Like when I'm taking a trade, it's only showing that one account. How long have I been trading? 13 months now. Not long. I mean, long enough that I've figured a few things out, but definitely not one of those seasoned traders that have been doing it forever. Good morning, Hector. Yeah, Joe, this is an account that I have a lot more drawdown built up, so I was risking more on that trade. Didn't work out though. Who taught me to trade? No one. YouTube taught me to trade. No, really, I've just watched thousands of different YouTube videos and kind of pieced all the puzzle pieces together into something that made some sort of sense in my brain. All right, making its way up towards that initial balance high. I'd like to see it come grab that liquidity up above and then reject. If that happens, I'll be looking for a sign to enter a short. If it doesn't though, like I said, if it reclaims that 350 level, then it's gonna keep going. 350, 360, somewhere in there. You've seen me in a seminar with Joey Morgan. Are you talking about the ASFX boot camp that he presented at last year in May? Is that what you're talking about? Oh, nice. Good timing. Speaking of Joey, yeah, someone in the chat just said that they thought they saw me in a seminar by Joey Morgan on YouTube. So I was asking if they were talking about the boot camp presentation that you did on initial balances. Because I think I was sitting in the front row at that time when you were talking, so they probably saw the back of my head. All right, we are at initial balance high, so I'm watching for that sweep of the 350, 360 level. If it sweeps that and we get some strong selling pressure, might be looking for a short. But gonna be careful with it because, like I said, it's kind of a slow grind up kind of day. And volume is just low. I would like to see it get some momentum if that trade is going to work out. Thanks, Joey. You too. Oh man, Verisat. Nice little recovery there. Yeah, Philip, I think I was having a conversation on with the chat a couple days ago about courses. So I think courses can be really helpful with just getting information in an organized fashion, because you have like one website that you go to, and if it's planned out well, it can be kind of a chronological way of presenting the strategy, and it can be a little bit easier to comprehend. So I think there can be some value in a course for sure if it's presented well. But I think the problem is people go into it with the wrong mentality. They think like, all right, I'm going to buy this $200 course, and then after watching 8 hours of videos, I'm all of a sudden going to be a six-figure trader. I think they forget that you still have to practice. You still have to fall on your face. You still have to like learn how to manage your emotions. There's no course that's going to teach you how to handle the stress and like revenge and FOMO and all that stuff. They can talk about it, but you're not going to really learn it until you do it yourself. And you actually like blow a prop firm account yourself, and you learn from mistakes. Like you have to touch the hot stove first. Your mom told you not to touch the hot stove, and you touched the hot stove anyway, and then you learned your lesson, right? It's the same thing with trading. You can learn everything from a course, but you still have to go fall on your face a couple times before it actually works. So I think that's the problem with courses, is people are looking for the keys to be handed to them on a silver platter, and that's not going to happen. We are rejecting that initial balance high, but I would like to see it come up a little bit higher before I take a short. Yeah, Verdman, that's actually one argument that I have for why I like prop firms, because it's a good bridge between paper trading and funding your own personal account with thousands of dollars. It kind of bridges that gap. So you do have some skin in the game, but less risk, you know? Like you can buy a cheap eval for $70, $80, whatever. And you still have some skin in the game. Like you'll have that emotional stuff that you have to work through and learn. But if you mess up and blow the account, all you did was lose $80. You didn't lose the $5,000 or whatever that you funded your personal account with. So, yes, I agree. You have to get out of the learning phase and stop trying to wait for everything to be perfect before you jump in. Sometimes at some point you just have to jump in and fall on your face a few times. All right, still hovering at that initial balance high. Let's see if it breaks up above. That's what I'm looking for. Where are we headed, NQ? What you gonna do? Oh yeah, Billy, I think prop firms are a great tool for the reason I stated earlier, for beginners, because it's less risk, but it's also good for people who have a consistent strategy and they're consistently profitable, but maybe they don't want to fund their account with $100,000 or whatever you would need to actually take some good position sizes to get good profits out of the market, because there's a great leverage opportunity with prop firms. Assuming you have a really consistent strategy and you copy trade across 5 accounts, there's a lot of money to be made and you don't have to risk your own capital. So yeah, I think there's lots of opportunity. Oh yeah, old trader. There is no I don't think paper trading helps at all with the emotional side. Decent selling pressure on that rejection from initial balance high. Let's see if it actually continues. We still have a little over 2 minutes until this 5-minute candle closes. So let's see if this is actually the spot where it's going to reject, or if it is going to move higher to those 350, 360s that I was talking about. I like the way it's looking. Oh, I like it. Coming down to the New York anchor VWAP right now, so this wouldn't be a smart spot to short yet. You guessed that 310 was it? Yeah. Agreed. I was definitely waiting for it to go a little bit higher, especially with that slow float up. But the reason I'm waiting for this candle to close, a couple reasons. One is this could be a fake out. Also, it's right at the New York anchor VWAP, so this is a spot where it could bounce. But if this closes right around where it's at right now, I'm going to find a spot to enter short before it goes all the way up to 350, because this is looking like it might be the spot where we go down. It can still go higher. Yep. I agree. Looks like a fake drop to you. I don't know. That was a pretty mean red candle on the 5-minute. And it's starting to break below that New York anchored VWAP. Let's see if it holds above. Still could bounce right here. ES is bouncing too. What do we have? I know we had a bunch of Fed speakers. We have another one in about 9 minutes. And then another hour and a half after that. Yeah, just speakers the rest of the day. But there's a lot of them. So I guess it depends on what they're going to be talking about and what they're going to say. And what their sentiment is. Morgan Stanley no longer expects a Fed rate cut in December. Really? Yikes. Well, that explains why everything's dropping, including crypto and the markets. Because everyone was kind of pricing in a rate drop, a rate cut in December. So now if that news is kind of changing, that puts a little twist into things. All right, well, that was an initial balance short opportunity that I missed. That's the theme of the day. I missed the long because I was waiting for a bigger pullback at the open. And then just now missed the short because I was waiting for a bigger move up before shorting. Dang it. Well, now I wonder if we're going to get the move that I originally was thinking would happen. Like, now we're just going to retrace and go all the way down to that open. Go down to like 25K. One of those Fed speakers would have to come out and say something super hawkish, I think. Because this is just a slow floating kind of day. Coming down to VWAP, let's see if we break through that to the downside or if we bounce. It's starting to look pretty heavy though. Not looking good for longs. Some talking heads say markets could see a new low between today and tomorrow. Who was that? Was that like Wall Street Journal or something? I'm curious. The reason I ask is because they're always the ones who, like, I don't know if they do it on purpose or what, but they're always late. Like, remember when, was it CNN or someone was talking about how like everyone should buy gold. Gold is the best. Yeah, Wall Street Journal. Waffles, you're the one who kind of tipped me off to that. Right when the news was talking about how everyone should buy gold, that was pretty much the top, like the day of. And then Waffles was saying something about a couple days ago there was some news article that was like bearish news, and then that's when Nvidia just gapped up. So do the opposite of whatever the news is saying. You see a major crash before year end? I don't know. That's hard to believe for me. Lots of reasons. Like you have the December, like shopping, more money going into the market kind of sentiment. Plus you have Trump, who's like holding the markets up himself with all of his tweets. I don't know. I don't believe a crash, but I wouldn't be surprised. It could happen. You got in shorts at 25,290 and you closed half at VWAP. Where do you think it can sell off to? Well, I would, if I was in a short, I would take some profits at initial balance low, which is at like 25,146-ish. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because today is kind of a choppy, rangy day. I don't believe there's going to be a massive dump unless one of those Fed speakers comes out and says something grumpy. But really, if you want to know what I think, I think it could come all the way back down to like 24,780. The reason is that's a big area of support. Also, that's right where the NVIDIA news release kind of started. So somewhere in this area, 24,800-ish. I don't know though. If it was my trade and I was in it, what I would do is, depending on how many contracts you are in, I would trail out. So I would look at taking profits at the initial balance low, and then I would take profits either at like London low or Asia low, somewhere in this vicinity right here. And then maybe leave a very small portion of my position, like 10%, like one contract or something, all the way down to that kind of home run target. Just because of the nature of the day, with it kind of being choppy, low volume, not a whole lot of momentum, I don't know if it has the juice to go all the way back down there. I could be wrong though. I also think the whole idea of like a market crash is relative. Like how much of a crash are we talking about? Like are we going to go back to 23K and then go back up to all-time highs? Or are we just going to like have a 30% drop, you know? Are they saying how much it's going to be? All right, so initial balance low is also kind of at this trend line. I'm not a huge trend line trader. My eyes kind of see the lines and it just shows a little bit of a shift in momentum, in my opinion. So that's pretty significant if it breaks below there and now it's kind of starting to get some momentum. Ah, so annoying. I'm annoyed with myself today. I was watching for that short. We were sitting here together for like an hour, you guys. And I was like, I'm watching this level. And it just freaking dumped without me. So annoying. All right, so at this point, watching to see if it bounces and closes back within the initial balance low. I don't love the idea of a long here, probably because I'm a little more short bias at this point. But we're also well below VWAP on both ES and NQ. So we would need to see some big time buyers defending and close back within the range if I'm interested in the long. Otherwise, this thing's going to continue down. So far, it's not looking like it wants to close back within that initial balance range. Looks like it wants to continue. Oh, it's not Neil. How many contracts did you have? Like, did you only have one left and that's why you closed it at initial balance low? Or did you have multiple contracts left? Whoa. So it's not Neil. You could have. So first of all, obviously, give yourself a pat on the back. Like, it was a green trade, and you're never gonna expect to catch the entire move. So get over that quickly. I know it's easier said than done, but that's a big area of tilt for me too. So I can speak from experience. So I journal all of my trades and not just the entries, exits, strategy. I journal my emotions on it too. So I've definitely figured out my patterns on when I get tilted, like what my tilt triggers are. And for me, my biggest tilt trigger is when I get out, quote unquote, early. Like if I take profit and then the move just continues massively in the direction that I was in, and I start thinking of like, oh, I could have made $500 if I stayed in. And some of my blown accounts or like days where I turned a green day into a red day are from those, because I just re-entered the position out of FOMO because I wanted to catch some more of the move. So noticing that pattern, that is why I have my trailing out take profit strategy, to where I'll take profit at like the first level and then the second level. So I'm at least locking in some green. And then I almost always leave a runner, even if it's like one tiny little contract and my position size is only like $70 in profit. It makes me mentally feel better about catching the home run part of the trade. So that's what I do to help with that tilt. And then if there's a point where I do take profit and it continues to run in my direction, I know that's a time for me to walk away and stop trading. So take note of those things for you. I don't know how you're like emotionally feeling right now. If you're really upset and you're like starting to feel like you want to jump in out of FOMO, notice those emotions and maybe adjust your trading strategy based on that. Olga, would you share your trading journal? Like pull my screen up? No. So I'm not sure exactly what you were asking, but I have in my Discord, in the tools and resources section, I have an Excel spreadsheet that's pretty fancy with like calculations and stuff. And it has like a drop down for what your strategy is. And based on this strategy, it'll calculate your win rate and stuff. So you can use that if you want. That's a free tool that I have in the Discord. You can make a copy and make it your own. Or you can just record in like a spiral notebook. That's how I started when I first started trading. It does not have to be anything fancy. Just write down your trade with pen and paper. Write down what time you took the trade so you can kind of know trends based on, was it pre-market, was it middle of the day, was it Asia session, and start to learn your win-loss rate during the time of day. So time, what your strategy was, what your entry and exit was, and then make notes on like, I trailed my stop loss too early and got stopped out at break even and then it moved in my direction. Or like maybe make notes about what you did wrong or what you could have improved on. Because then you'll start to notice trends. Like last week, for example, I got on this live stream on Monday and I was telling you guys the thing I need to focus on this week is taking profit. Because all last week I had like 7 trades that I got stopped out at break even. And I had like large unrealized profit that I never capitalized on because I just waited. I was waiting for a bigger move. So taking notes on what happened with the trade, good or bad, where can I improve? I think that's important. And then your emotions too. Like if you take a loss, how do you feel? And then what did you do after that? Did you revenge trade or did you walk away or whatever? So you can kind of start to learn what your triggers are. So Excel spreadsheet or pen and paper, or if you want to get fancy, you can use TradeZella. That's what I do now. It's a subscription. I don't remember how much it costs, but I do have a code with it. If you use code Krista, there's a percentage off on it. But that is a cool tool. You can just import all of your trades really fast. And then you can tag them with different things. Like this was my initial balance strategy. This was a bounce off of VWAP. And you can pull reports based on your strategy. So like I can pull up a win rate for this specific strategy, or I can pull up a win rate for the Asia session. So if you like data, TradeZella is pretty cool. And yeah, TradeZella is actually having a Black Friday sale. So if you guys are interested in TradeZella, wait. G-Man, what did I tell you? It's like November 25th or something. I would have to look back at that email. Let me pull it up. Yeah, November 25th is when the sale starts for TradeZella. Their year subscription. So if you pay for the year in advance, I think it was $100 off or something like that. It was a good deal. It's better than any deal they offer throughout the year. I think it's worth it to pay for TradeZella because I journal more regularly. Like when I was doing it all in the Excel spreadsheet, it takes work. Like it took me at least 30 minutes to journal everything properly, every trade, and like screenshot every trade and add notes and stuff. And there were definitely days where I skipped journaling because I'm like, I don't feel like it. And honestly, I would skip journaling most often on my red days because I didn't feel like facing it. And those are the days that you really need to journal because you need to figure out what needs to be fixed. So TradeZella helps with that because you can import your trades within like 2 minutes. Literally, it's really fast. And then go in and tag everything real quick and write some notes out. I can get it all done in like 10 to 15 minutes now. The trading journal, go to the tools and resources section. I have 2 things in there. I have a PDF that shows what my pre-market routine is, like what my mental state is pre-market, and then the trades that I took, the daily recap. So there's a daily report in there, a PDF, and then the Google Drive. You can click on that, or Google spreadsheet if you want to do that one. So for the Google spreadsheet, if you're going to use that, just make a copy of it. Because you only have view access. So if you try to like type on it, it's not gonna let you. So just make a copy. All right, looks like it's at least coming down to fill that overnight gap. That's where we opened at like 24,963. Let's see if it comes down to that 24,783 number that I was talking about. It just might. I'm so mad at myself, you guys. This is exactly what I was waiting for. I was just too greedy with my pullback hopes, and I didn't get in. Why 783? It's just the edge of a high volume node that I have. It's also right around the region of the NVIDIA earnings release. So if it's kind of retracing that whole candle, it's also yesterday's value area high. There's just lots of stuff going on there. Holy cow. All right, so that was the market open right there. You saw my alert go off. Let's see if it actually bounces here or if it continues to just dump. This is fun. Ah, somebody in the chat took the short. Well, I'm glad I could help someone. I didn't help myself. Looks like it might bounce up here a little bit. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna call it. I can definitely feel myself annoyed that I missed that short, and now I'm kind of just searching for trades, and I would probably oversize and do something stupid. So I'm gonna stop trading for today. I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. It was a fun day of trading. Join the Discord if you guys haven't already. And then I will see you tomorrow for some trading tomorrow. Have a good one, you guys.